Hey, what's going on, guys? Dr. Brute7 signing in back with another PlayStation Vita tutorial. Now this is an emulator. You can never have enough emulators on your jailbroken PlayStation Vita. So this is the Chimera SNES Emulator. This is an amazing game. So this is Spider-Man Lethal Foes, which was only released for the Super Famicom in Japan. This is one of the best beat-em-up Spider-Man games. Why didn't they make an international release is beyond me. But look at the graphics, the gameplay is also awesome, and we just got the Human Torch. I don't know what is Spider-Man saying, but whatever they're talking, it's something badass. Look at the freaking cutscenes and everything, man. Why didn't we even get this? There are so many games that were made region specific for both the Famicom and Super Famicom. I don't know why I'm talking about this game. Let's talk about the Chimera emulator. I'm gonna talk about the settings and how you would be able to get some really good experience in terms of the emulation. So make sure your PlayStation Vitas are jailbroken and you have these specific plugins installed and set up. Just go to the link in the description. You're going to find the video. I highly recommend checking out that video. Let's move into the installation process. Head over to the link in the description, download the VPK file. Once the VPK file has been downloaded, connect to your PlayStation Vita using Vita Shell. Press the select button while you're on Vita Shell and your PlayStation Vita's memory storage is going to show up. You can either copy and paste the VPK file to the root of your SD card, or if you have a dedicated folder like I do, just paste the VPK file. Here is Chimera SNES. After that, you can disconnect your PlayStation Vitas, and while on Vita Shell, browse to the directory where you store your VPKs. In my case, it's UXO, and I'm going to head over into the downloads folder and just install the VPK following the on-screen instructions. And that's it. It's going to pop up on your live area. The author of this emulator is Jam Silva. Props to their work. If you want to show your support, by all means go ahead and do so. After you run the emulator for the first time, you're going to be on the home screen. This is where you're going to navigate through the directories into the ROM directories. One thing that I have noticed, it doesn't ask for your BIOS files. Maybe it's because I already have my BIOS folder set up. I always make sure to keep my BIOS folder for each of the systems placed inside the folders where I place the ROMs for the specific system. So yeah, I would suggest you do that as well. It's always good to have the system BIOS file set up. Head over to the directory where you have your ROMs placed. I would highly suggest creating a dedicated ROMs folder. Make some subfolders which would be system specific like this. That would make things highly organized. This emulator is exclusively for the SNES. You won't be able to run the other games. Also, another thing, make sure that you have your ROM files extracted and unpacked. By whatever means necessary you have gathered your ROM files or ROM packs. They might come in RAR format. You do not place the unextracted RAR file. The emulator won't be detecting it. Let's talk about the settings. In regards to the settings, you would be able to assign screen or graphics settings specific to each game. All you have to do is run the game. You just assign the graphical settings based on your preference for that game itself. If you do not want to make them game specific and make for all the games that you'd be running through the emulator, so you have to do it while you're on the emulator's main screen. Home will take to setting menu. So home means the PlayStation button. You press the PlayStation button once, it's going to bring up the emulator system settings. Navigate through each of these menus, pressing the L and R button. So we have the state where you can save or load your game state. One of the prominent features of this emulator is it has an auto save and load state. It's going to create an auto save file right the moment when you're going to exit out of the game, and you would be able to resume it exactly from that point the next time you're going to run the game. So you can enable and disable the option by going into the emulator settings by pressing the PlayStation button, heading into miscellaneous options, and the very first option that says auto save load state, you can toggle it on or off based on your preference. I like it. I really find it essential, so I have it enabled. Let's talk about the graphics option. Display size, I would recommend set it to full. Aspect ratio, set it by device screen and not by game resolution. Device screen will take the PlayStation Vita screen resolution and set the aspect ratio accordingly. Graphics shader, set to default, because if you set to sharp bilinear, it's going to bring in some scan lines. So I don't like it. It's completely up to you. Advanced AA, anti-aliasing, makes the graphics better, looking, but also at the same time it brings up screen tearing. I would recommend setting it to default. There is an option to override the screen tearing, but that is an unstable option. I'm going to show you guys where you can toggle that setting as well. Graphics has been set to smooth. If you want pixelated graphics, you can completely do that, but I like my graphics smoothened, so I set it to yes. Overlay select, it will just add in a frame, but it's not something that I recommend doing. Overlay mode is set to overlay and show FPS obviously. Controls, here it's all the control settings that you have. Just assign the buttons according to your preference. Press X and press the key that you want to assign. Hotkeys, there are some hotkeys that are set by default. I haven't changed them. For the core settings, the emulator's core setting, frame skip, set it to auto. That way the emulator will know when to put the frame skipping in effect. Frame skip threshold percentage will be set to 33%. I would recommend set it to 30%. Load the BSX BIOS was an open source project or something. By default it's set to skip. Keep it to skip. Reduce slowdown, unsafe restart, it's already set to auto fast ROM. Keep it at that. Super effects overclock. Now this is for games that use Super Nintendo's FX core chip. If you experience slowdowns, then you can overclock it. Now it's by set to default to 10 megahertz. I'm going to set it to 12 megahertz. I'll just overclock it a little bit. Reduce screen flickering. Now this is what I was talking about. If you have the anti-aliasing enabled, enable this as well. For the miscellaneous options, auto save load state. For the app settings, there is really nothing that needs to be done here. And I was talking about the screen tearing, so let's just head over to the graphics shader to advanced AA. I don't know if you're noticing it, but there's minor screen flickering that is happening at the right part of the screen. Alright, now let's go head over into the core setting, enable this, and still the screen flickering is happening. I guess it's only going to reduce the flicker, but still their flickering is going to happen for a lot of the games. If you set it to sharp bilinear, you can see that there's a little bit of scan lines and stuff, but it's completely up to you. It's completely up to you whichever you prefer. Whichever you prefer, you can do it. Simple, if you do it, then you're gonna see it a bit pixelated and without the scan lines. I like the default, and if you set it to LCD, obviously you're going to get the scan lines again. I like the default setting. There is no scan lines, and adding it up with the graphics smoothened up, it looks pretty awesome. If you additionally want to overclock your PlayStation Vita, you can also do that, but there is a way to do it. You won't be able to just do it by pressing and holding the PlayStation button. First you have to bring up the emulator's system menu and then press and hold the PlayStation button, and it will bring up the Vita's overlay settings, overclocking settings. Now this is done by PSV Shell. If you want to know more about PSV Shell, I have a dedicated video for that as well. Links in the description. You can just go ahead and check it out. This was the Chimera emulator for the PlayStation Vita. God damn it, I'm running out of time. If you like this tutorial and found this tutorial informative and helpful, please make sure to drop in a like and subscribe. I'm gonna post in more contents. Join me on my live streams, and yeah, subscribe to my channel to stay tuned with the awesomeness. I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. Dr. Brute 7 signing off. Peace. God damn, this game is so good. Get over here, man.